The cheat sheet was 3 inches by 5 inches, written in my smallest handwriting on both sides of an index card. Constitutional law provisions, key case citations, the exact language from amendments I could never quite memorize. I tucked it into the waistband of my pants that morning, pressed against my lower back, covered by my shirt, just in case, a safety net, insurance against another failure. I told myself I wouldn't use it, told myself just having it there would calm my nerves enough that I'd remember everything naturally. Told myself a lot of things that July morning in 2008 when I walked into the Pasadena Convention Center to take the California bar exam for the third time. By 2:47 p.m. on the second day, during the final essay question, a complex constitutional law problem about First Amendment protections and government speech, I'd stopped telling myself anything. My mind was blank, exhausted, 2.5 days of testing, 6 hours of essays behind me, and I couldn't remember the distinction between viewpoint discrimination and content-based restrictions. Couldn't remember which standard of scrutiny applied. Couldn't remember the cases that would support my analysis. I could feel myself failing again, feel the panic rising, see the next year stretching ahead, more debt, more studying, more explaining to my parents why I still wasn't a lawyer, more watching my law school classmates post about their new associate positions while I worked as a legal temp making $15 an hour. The proctors were walking the aisles, but there was a rhythm to their movement. Predictable intervals. I had maybe 45 seconds when neither would be close enough to see. My hand moved to my lower back, found the index card, slipped it onto my lap under the desk, glanced down for maybe 10 seconds, read the strict scrutiny standard, the key cases, the amendment language, put the card back, wrote the essay. That was it. 10 seconds. 179 words I memorized in that moment, the difference between passing and failing. I passed by 3 points. My name is James Mitchell. I'm 44 years old. I've been a practicing attorney for 15 years. I've built a career on civil rights law, defending people whose constitutional protections have been violated, fighting for justice and accountability and the rule of law. I've won cases that set precedents, changed policies, helped people who had nowhere else to turn, and every single bit of it, every case, every victory, every client who trusted me, is built on a lie I told one July afternoon when I was 29 years old and desperate and convinced that one small act of dishonesty wouldn't matter if I spent the rest of my career doing good. I was wrong. Let me go back. Law school had not been easy for me. I'd gotten into a decent program, University of San Diego, but I'd struggled from day one. Not with understanding the concepts, but with the format, the Socratic method, the competitive culture, the constant pressure and evaluation. I'd finished in the middle of my class. Respectable, but unremarkable. No law review, no prestigious internships, no connections that would open doors. I'd taken the bar for the first time in July 2006, right after graduation. Failed by 18 points. The shame was crushing. Everyone else from my study group passed. My girlfriend at the time, Lauren, who I'd been dating since undergrad, tried to be supportive, but I could see the disappointment. Her parents were both lawyers. In her world, failing the bar was almost incomprehensible. I took it again in February 2007. Failed by 7 points. Closer, but still failing. Lauren broke up with me 3 weeks later. Said it wasn't about the bar, but I knew better. She was starting at a big firm in LA. I was living with my parents in Riverside, studying for a test I apparently couldn't pass, working temp jobs to pay off the interest on my student loans. By the time July 2008 rolled around, I'd accumulated $180,000 in student debt. I was 30 years old. My parents, working-class people who'd sacrificed everything to help me through school, were starting to suggest maybe law wasn't for me. Maybe I should consider other options. Find a stable job, move on. But I couldn't move on. I'd spent 3 years of my life and more money than my parents had ever seen on this degree. I'd deferred my entire 20s for this career, and I was not going to fail again. So I made the cheat sheet, told myself it was just insurance, told myself I'd study so hard I wouldn't need it, told myself if I did use it, it would only be for confirmation, not cheating. All lies. I knew what it was, I knew what I was doing, and when that moment came, 2:47 p.m., constitutional law essay, mind blank with exhaustion, I made a choice that would define everything that came after. I got my results in November. Passed. Barely, but passed. I was sworn in as a member of the California State Bar in December 2008. My parents came to the ceremony, proud and relieved. My dad cried, which I'd seen maybe twice in my life. My mom kept saying, "My son, the lawyer." I smiled and thanked the judge and shook hands with the other new admittees and felt nothing but hollow. I'd passed, but I hadn't earned it. The guilt was intense at first. I'd have nightmares about being caught, about someone reviewing footage and seeing me look at that card, about the state bar calling and saying they were investigating irregularities in my exam. I'd wake up sweating, heart pounding, certain that today would be the day everything came crashing down. But nothing happened. No investigation, no questions. Just congratulations and job applications, and finally, the ability to start practicing law. I got hired at a small civil rights firm in Los Angeles. The pay was terrible, $55,000 a year, barely enough to cover rent and start chipping away at my loans, but the work was meaningful. We took cases other firms wouldn't touch: police misconduct, wrongful termination, housing discrimination. I worked 80-hour weeks and lived in a studio apartment in Koreatown, and slowly, gradually, started to feel like maybe I could redeem myself through the work. Maybe the ends could justify the means. My first big case came in 2010. A high school teacher named Patricia Ruiz, who'd been fired after a parent accused her of inappropriate conduct with a student. The accusation was completely false. The parent was angry about a failing grade and had fabricated the story, but the district had terminated her anyway, unwilling to risk the publicity. Patricia had been teaching for 22 years. Her reputation was destroyed. No other school would hire her. She'd lost everything over a lie. We sued for wrongful termination and defamation. The case went to trial. I gave the closing argument, my first real closing in a jury trial. I was terrified, but I channeled everything I felt about fairness and justice and the damage that false accusations can do. Patricia Ruiz dedicated her life to teaching, I told the jury. 22 years of showing up every day, helping kids learn, making a difference in her community. And one person's lie destroyed all of that in a moment. One accusation, and suddenly none of her years of service mattered. None of her integrity mattered. She became defined by something she didn't do. That's not justice. That's not how we should treat people who've dedicated their lives to service. One moment of accusation should not define a lifetime of integrity. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, came back with a verdict for Patricia, awarded her $340,000 in damages, and ordered the school district to clear her record. She cried in the courtroom, hugged me, said I'd given her her life back, and I felt like a fraud. Because I was standing there arguing that one moment shouldn't define a lifetime, while one moment of dishonesty defined my entire career. But the case got attention. Legal blogs wrote about it. Other attorneys cited my closing argument. It became something I was known for. The "one moment shouldn't define you" argument. I used variations of it in other cases. It became part of my professional identity. The irony was not lost on me. Neither was the hypocrisy. I built my career over the next decade, made partner at the firm in 2014, started taking higher profile cases, won a significant settlement against LAPD for a wrongful arrest case, successfully defended a journalist's First Amendment rights in a defamation suit, built a reputation as someone who fought for people the system had failed. Got married in 2013 to a woman named Alicia, a social worker I'd met through a mutual friend. She was good and principled and believed deeply in justice. She loved that I was a civil rights attorney, said it was one of the things that attracted her to me, that I'd chosen a career helping people instead of chasing money. I never told her about the bar exam, never told anyone. We had a daughter in 2015, named her Maya. She was perfect, curious and funny and smart, and watching her grow up, watching her learn about right and wrong, watching her navigate the moral complexities of being a kid, made the guilt worse. I was teaching her to be honest, to do the right thing even when it was hard, to have integrity, and I was a hypocrite. By 2023, I'd been practicing for 15 years. I'd helped dozens of clients, won significant cases, changed some policies, made some small dent in the injustices of the system. My reputation was solid, respected. People called me when they had difficult civil rights cases. Young attorneys asked me for mentorship. I taught a seminar on constitutional litigation at UCLA Law. And then in March, I got a call from a state senator I'd worked with on criminal justice reform legislation. She had a proposition. There was an opening for a judgeship in the Los Angeles County Superior Court, Civil Division. She was part of the nominating process and wanted to recommend me, a judgeship. The kind of position that required extensive background checks, financial records, professional history, references, ethics reviews, the kind of position where everything gets scrutinized, everything gets questioned, the kind of position where a 15-year-old act of cheating on the bar exam, if discovered, would disqualify me instantly and destroy my entire career. I thanked her, said I was honored, said I needed some time to think about it, spent the next 3 weeks barely sleeping, running through scenarios. The chances of them finding out were slim. The bar exam was 15 years ago. There was no footage, no way to prove what happened. But slim wasn't zero, and if it came out during the vetting process, or worse, after I was appointed, the scandal would be massive, not just for me, but for every case I'd ever won, every client I'd represented. Defense attorneys would argue my dishonesty invalidated victories. Cases could be reopened. People I'd helped could be hurt. The risk was enormous. The ethical thing was to decline the nomination, stay where I was, keep doing good work at a level where my secret stayed buried. But I wanted it. Wanted the judgeship. Wanted the legitimacy. Wanted the validation that I'd overcome my rocky start and become something worth respecting. Wanted to believe that 15 years of good work had earned me redemption. I told Alicia about the opportunity. She was thrilled. "You'd be an amazing judge," she said. "Think about all the good you could do. Think about what it would mean for Maya to grow up knowing her dad's a judge, seeing what justice looks like." Maya was 8 now, 3rd grade. She came home one afternoon in April with tears in her eyes. A boy in her class had accused her of cheating on a math test. She'd scored well, and he'd told the teacher she must have looked at his paper. The teacher had investigated, found no evidence, cleared Maya. But the accusation had shaken her. "Everyone in class thinks I'm a cheater now," she said. "Even though I didn't do it, it's not fair." I held her while she cried, told her I knew it wasn't fair, told her that sometimes people make accusations without evidence, and it hurts, but the truth matters. Told her that her integrity was intact, that one person's lie didn't change who she was. "But what if people believe him?" she asked. "What if they always think I cheat?" "Then we keep showing them who you really are, through your actions, through your choices. Eventually, the truth wins." I said all the right things, all the things a good parent says, and I felt sick with the hypocrisy of it. The vetting process for the judgeship began in May. Background checks, interviews, financial disclosures. I submitted everything, answered every question, held my breath waiting for someone to dig deep enough to find something, anything, that would unravel the lie. Nothing came up. The process moved forward. By June, it looked like I'd be recommended for the appointment. And then one evening, Maya asked me to help her study. Not for a test, for the practice SAT. She was 8, but Alicia had gotten her into a summer academic program for gifted kids, and they were doing test prep as part of the curriculum. Maya was stressed about it, kept saying all the other kids were older and smarter. "Everyone probably cheats anyway," she said while we were reviewing vocabulary. "That's how they get such good scores, right?" My stomach dropped. "What makes you say that?" She shrugged. "Kids talk about it, about how to sneak notes in or how to look at someone else's answers. Everyone does it." "Maya, cheating is wrong. You know that." "I know, but what if everyone else is doing it and I'm the only one who isn't? Then I'm just behind." "You're behind with integrity. That matters more than scores." She looked at me, and her face was so earnest, so trusting. "Dad, would you even know if I cheated? Would you be disappointed in me?" And there it was, the moment where I had to choose. Tell her that integrity is everything, that one act of dishonesty can poison everything that comes after, that the guilt will follow you for years, that you'll build a whole life on a foundation of sand and live in constant fear that someone will discover the truth. Or tell her nothing. Let the hypocrisy stand. Let her believe I'm someone worth emulating. I couldn't do it. Couldn't look at my daughter's face and lie anymore. "Maya, I need to tell you something," I said. "And it's going to be hard to hear, but I need you to understand why integrity matters so much to me." I told her. Not every detail, she was 8, but the core of it. That I'd cheated on the bar exam, that I'd passed because of that dishonesty, that I'd built my entire career on that moment, and it had haunted me ever since. She stared at me, confused, trying to process. "But you're a lawyer. You help people. You're good." "I've tried to be good. I've tried to do work that matters, But Maya, the way I became a lawyer was wrong, and I've lived with that guilt every single day for 15 years. Does Mom know? No, you're the first person I've ever told. She was quiet for a long time. Then, are you going to tell her? Yes, I have to, and I have to tell the state bar, and I'm probably going to lose my license to practice law, lose everything I've built, because what I did was wrong, and I can't keep lying about it. But you've helped so many people. What about them? I hope the work I did still matters. I hope the clients I helped are still helped. But I can't be a judge. Can't stand up there and make rulings about other people's ethics when I have none. Can't teach you about integrity while hiding this. Maya's eyes filled with tears. I don't want you to lose your job. I don't want people to think you're bad. I know, baby, but this is what integrity actually means. It means doing the right thing even when it costs you everything, even when it's 15 years too late. I told Alicia that night, after Maya was in bed. We sat in the living room, and I confessed everything. The failed bar exams, the desperation, the cheat sheet, the 15 years of guilt and fear and hypocrisy. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Why now? She finally asked. Why are you telling me now? Because of the judgeship, because of Maya, because I can't keep building on this lie. You're going to withdraw from the nomination? I'm going to report myself to the state bar. I'm going to confess what I did and accept whatever consequences come. They'll disbar you, probably. We'll lose your income, your reputation, everything. I know. She looked at me, and I couldn't read her expression. Anger, disappointment, maybe something like respect. You've been lying to me for our entire relationship. Yes. I don't know if I can forgive that. I understand. She stood up. I need time. I need to think. I need to figure out if I can stay married to someone who's been this dishonest. Alicia. No, you don't get to ask me to process this quickly. You've had 15 years. I've had 15 minutes. She went to bed. I stayed on the couch, and I understood that this was just the beginning of the consequences. I withdrew from the judgeship nomination the next morning, called the senator, told her something had come up in my personal life that made me unavailable for the position. She was disappointed but understanding, said if things changed, to let her know. Then I called my partners at the firm, requested a meeting, told them what I was about to do and why. They were shocked, angry, felt betrayed, not just by the initial act, but by the years of working alongside someone they didn't actually know. Every case we've worked on together is now compromised, one partner said. Defense attorneys are going to use this. They're going to argue your involvement invalidates our wins. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, James. You've put the entire firm at risk. I filed a self-report with the State Bar of California on June 14, 2023, detailed exactly what I'd done. The cheat sheet, the constitutional law essay, the 3 points that made the difference between failing and passing. The State Bar opened an investigation immediately. I was placed on inactive status pending the outcome. Couldn't practice law, couldn't represent clients, couldn't do anything but wait while they determined my fate. The hearing was in October. I appeared before the State Bar Court with no attorney. I'd been advised to get representation, but I refused. I didn't deserve defense. I deserved accountability. I testified for 3 hours. Explained the circumstances, the desperation, the 15 years since. Explained the work I'd done, the clients I'd helped, the cases I'd won. Explained that none of it justified what I'd done, but I wanted them to know the full context. The State Bar Court judge was a woman named Sandra Ortez, 70 years old, who'd been practicing since before I was born. She listened to everything, asked pointed questions, then delivered her ruling. Mr. Mitchell, you committed an act of academic dishonesty that strikes at the very heart of our profession. The bar examination exists to ensure that attorneys meet a minimum standard of competence and ethics. By cheating, you subverted that process. You gained admission to the bar through fraud. And for 15 years, you practiced law under false pretenses. Every client who hired you, every court that relied on your representations, every case you touched, all of it is now tainted by your dishonesty. However, I also note that in the 15 years since that act, you appear to have practiced with genuine competence and dedication. Your clients speak highly of you. Your cases show a commitment to justice and the rule of law. You've built a career that, by all external measures, exemplifies the values of our profession. But integrity cannot be situational. Ethics cannot be compartmentalized. You cannot be a good lawyer built on a foundation of dishonesty, no matter how much good work you've done since. The state bar court hereby disqualifies you from the practice of law in California. Your license is revoked, effective immediately. You are prohibited from practicing law in any jurisdiction. Furthermore, I am referring this matter to the appropriate authorities to determine whether criminal charges for fraud are warranted. It was over. 15 years of career gone. My livelihood gone, my reputation destroyed, and I felt nothing but relief. The fallout was extensive. Several of my former clients' cases were appealed based on my disbarment. Most of the appeals were denied. The courts ruled that my dishonesty in becoming a lawyer didn't invalidate the legal work I'd done, but a few cases were reopened. One settlement was overturned. People I'd helped ended up hurt because of me. That was the hardest part. Not losing my career, but knowing that my dishonesty had ripple effects that harmed innocent people who'd trusted me. Alicia and I separated in November. She took Maya and moved in with her sister. She hasn't filed for divorce yet, says she's still deciding. We talk occasionally about logistics, about Maya, about nothing important. The trust is broken. I don't know if it can be repaired. Maya asks to see me once a week. We get ice cream and talk. She's struggling with everything. Her friends' parents asking questions, kids at school who've heard about it, her own confusion about who I am. But she also said something last time that made me think maybe, somehow, I did the right thing in the end. "I'm sad you're not a lawyer anymore," she said. "But I'm glad you told the truth, even though it was really late." "Me too, baby." "Do you think people can still be good if they did something really bad?" "I don't know. I hope so. I think you have to spend the rest of your life trying to be better, trying to make up for it." "Is that what you're going to do?" "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do." I'm working now as a paralegal at a nonprofit legal aid organization. They knew my history when they hired me. I was completely honest about everything and decided I could still be useful even without a law license. The pay is a fraction of what I made before. The work is humbling. I do research, draft documents, support attorneys who are doing the work I used to do. But it's honest work, and that matters more than I can express. I've started speaking at law schools about ethics, telling my story as a cautionary tale. Most students are horrified. Some are defensive, argue that everyone cheats, that the bar exam is unfair anyway, that the ends justify the means. I understand that thinking. I had the same justifications, but I tell them, one moment of dishonesty can poison everything that comes after. Even if you build something good, even if you help people, even if you do genuine good in the world, it's built on sand. And eventually, the foundation crumbles, and you take everything down with you. The criminal investigation into fraud charges was dropped. The statute of limitations had expired, and the prosecutor didn't think they could prove intent to defraud beyond a reasonable doubt. So I'm not facing prison, just the loss of everything I spent 15 years building. People ask me if I regret confessing, if I wish I'd stayed quiet, accepted the judgeship, let the lie continue. Honestly, no. I regret cheating in the first place. I regret the 15 years I spent living with that guilt, building on that dishonesty, teaching my daughter about integrity while having none myself. But I don't regret finally telling the truth, because Maya was right to ask me that question. Would I even know if she cheated? Would I be disappointed? And I couldn't keep living as someone who would tell her integrity matters while embodying the opposite. She deserved better. My clients deserve better. The legal profession deserved better. And maybe, eventually, I'll deserve better too. But that starts with accepting responsibility, with facing consequences, with admitting that I took a shortcut 15 years ago and it cost me everything. My name is James Mitchell. I was a lawyer for 15 years. I built a career on civil rights law, defending people the system had failed, fighting for justice. And I did it all based on a lie I told myself one July afternoon when I was desperate and afraid and convinced that one small act of dishonesty wouldn't matter. I was wrong. It mattered. It cost me my career, my marriage, my reputation, my sense of self. It hurt people I'd tried to help. It taught my daughter a lesson I never wanted to teach. And the only redemption available to me now is honesty. Brutal, costly, devastating honesty. The kind that destroys everything you've built but lets you sleep at night. The kind that makes you unemployable in your field but lets you look at yourself in the mirror. The kind that comes 15 years too late, but is still, somehow, better than never. I cheated on the bar exam. I became a lawyer through fraud. I practiced for 15 years knowing I hadn't truly earned the right to represent clients. And when I finally had to choose between continuing the lie and teaching my daughter about real integrity, I chose the truth. It cost me everything, and it was still the right choice. That's my story. That's my confession. That's the price of one moment of dishonesty and 15 years of trying to build something good on a foundation of fraud. I hope it matters. I hope someone reads this and makes a different choice when they're desperate and afraid. I hope my daughter grows up understanding that integrity isn't about never making mistakes. It's about accepting responsibility when you do, even when it costs you everything. Because in the end, the only thing more expensive than telling the truth is continuing to live a lie. And I'm done paying that price. If you've ever made a choice you regret, or if you've built something you're proud of on a foundation you're ashamed of, you're not alone. The question isn't whether we make mistakes. It's whether we eventually find the courage to face them. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, though I understand if this story is too uncomfortable to engage with. Sometimes the hardest stories are the ones we most need to tell. Thank you for reading and for understanding that redemption, if it exists at all, starts with honesty, no matter how late it comes.